Okay, good morning and welcome to Mishna Yomi. Today we're learning Terumos Paraches, Mishnayos Chet and Tet. We're going to talk about a new mitzvah that we haven't really talked about. You have a mitzvah, both the Yisrael and a Kohen, to ensure that your Truma stays in a state of Tara, a state of purity. We'll see even by Safek, whether it's Tameh or not. There's still a mitzvah of Shimur over there. To what extent there's a mitzvah of Shimur to extent? How far do you have to go to make sure it doesn't become Tameh? That is the subject of these two Mishnayos. Let's get started. Mishnah Ches Chavish al Truma Shnilad Bal Safek Tuma. You have a barrel of Truma wine, and you're not sure if a sheretz touched it or something like that to make a tamei. Or Omer Am Haisa Munachas Makom HaTurfa Yani Chenev Makom HaMutzna. We're going to learn, like the Rav explains, the pasuk says Mishmeres Trumasi, plural, right? B'shtei Trumas Akasim Adab Rakas Truma Tahor Vakas Truma Tluya. Not only do you have to be shomer Truma Tahara to make sure it doesn't become Tameh, because if it becomes Tameh, you only can use it for certain things. You can't eat it anymore. You can only burn it under your fire to cook food with. It applies the plural of Trumasai includes Truma Tluya, which is Safek Tuma, Safek whether it's Tameh or not. You also have to guard that, and therefore, if it was in a public place where it could easily become Tameh again, and Tad Tuma Bevadai, you have to put it in a private place to protect it from becoming, if we shomer from becoming tamei. If it was uncovered, which is a lot easier to become tamei, you have to cover it. Rabbi Yeshua argues on this. He says if it was in a private place, put it in a public place, because if it's tluya, right, you can't really do anything with it, right? If it's safek tuma, right, you're not supposed to, you can't eat it. But also you can't do other things with it because you have to be shomer it. You have to be shomer it, so you can't do ziluf. You know, they used to take wine, they used to sprinkle around their house to make it smell better. I don't know exactly, or in their garden or something like that. I don't know exactly what ziluf is. We'll get to that at a different time. But you can't do it because you're stuck either way. So he says, let's solve the problem. The Isser only applies to be shomer. He argues on this drasha. Only the makom where it's vaday tor, but if it's tluya, so then put it in a place where it'll easily you can't. He agrees with the fact that you can't be matame tluya, but you could make it easier, facilitate that it becomes tame. So if it was in a private place, put it in a public place where you're not being matame, but it'll cause tame. Like some chusti yeglan, if it was covered, open it up so it'll become vaday tame, and you can use it for fuel under your fire. You can use it for zilo for Gamliel has a third opinion. We pass like Gamliel that you can't do either one, right? You leave it as it is because to facilitate it becoming tamei is really a violation of shmiras, the tluya. And he also doesn't hold that you have a full din to shimur to make it, to put it in a more private place. So that's how we pass, and it's sort of a balance between those two views. Ted, achavish nishbra bagas al yona. He had a barrel of truma wine. They used to mix the wines together. It was in the upper pressing place where they pressed the wine. With the bore where they collected the wine had actual chulin in it, and the chulin was tamei. Now chulin that's tamei is not a problem because you don't have to eat chulin betuma. Even if you're machmir yourself to eat chulin betara, right? When those days when you're tamei, you're going to let yourself eat chulin betama because it doesn't do anything to you. So there's a big hefsed mamon going on over here. You're Yisrael. You have truma. You want to separate and give to the Kohen. But if this truma falls into the chulin, right? So it's going to become a duma, right? It's going to become a mixture. You don't have 100 to 1 to mavatal it. You're going to lose a lot of money. Maduma, you can't do anything with Yisrael. Moder Belezer or Yeshua Shemichol the Hatzal Men Riyas Batara Yatzil. So everyone agrees. If you can go after Kalim, right? There's a drip, there's a leak coming from the top, and it's going into your chulin now. The truma's going in. So even if it's going to ruin all your chulin, we still say go get a kli, and a tahor kli, and save the truma, and don't make it tamei. Don't use a tamei kli. Don't make the truma tamei. As long as you save a revius. We'll discuss some more in Mishna why a revius, as opposed to a value of money. It's a specific amount. It's never chashuv. The Mefarshim say it's a significant thing. A revius of wine. It's significant for kiddush and things like that. So if you can save a revius, do that. And let the rest of your chulin get ruined, even though by the time it takes you to come back, a lot of truma is going to be in the chulin. V'im lav, if you can't even save a revius, you're not going to be able to do that. You don't have tahor kalim. Relezer omer teri v'ditamim al yitmena b'yadav. He says Relezer is machmir. He says, like in the first minute, he's very machmir about shimur. You have to truma tluya. You can't take tame kalim. The other option is you have kalim which are tame and save the truma in those. You're going to matame the truma. You can't do that. Matame b'yadayim. You have to do shimor. And we're going to see Rabbi Yeshua argues. This is in the Gemara in Pesachim, I think on Daf Chaf. Yeshua argues and says, even though it's not said in the Mishna, he argues and says no, that if you're not going to be able to save the truma, so at least save the chulin, take the tame kalim and collect the truma into the tame kalim. It's not called matame b'yadayim because it's falling by itself. So therefore, it's better to save the money, and that's how we pass on Rabbi Yeshua. We'll explain Yeshua's Shita more in Iyun Mishnah coming up next.